Welcome back to More Than Gardening. I am here with all of my onions today. I have 3 trays of 72. I'm about to do some serious maintenance on these onions. If you're new to this channel, my name is Sam. I garden here in Michigan, Zone 6A. And I start my entire garden every year. Well, every year. This is only my 3rd year gardening. So I start my garden from seed. I'm growing everything from seed. I'm documenting it here on YouTube. So that's something that you like watching, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I started these onions back on January 4th. Today is March 15th. So how many weeks is that? It's a little over 2 months. And these are gonna go in my garden in 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how the weather is. So I'm really now in the phase where I'm just making sure that they're super, super strong seedlings. I'm just going to trim these onions, fertilize them, water them, and I'm gonna put them outside for an hour today. I'm starting the hardening off process. If you're new to gardening and you've never grown anything from seed and you have no idea what hardening off means, it's basically like an adjustment period for your seedlings to get used to living outside. When you start seeds inside, they're in the perfect environment. They are under grow lights. They might be on a heating pad. There's no pest pressure. There's little to no wind. If you run a fan, that's great. I do run a fan on these just to get them acclimated to wind, but they're really in a good situation if you're starting seeds like in a greenhouse or inside in your living room or whatever. So in order for them to survive once they get outside, you have to acclimate them or harden them off over time. I like to use about 2 weeks to do that process. I'm targeting planting these in my garden in 2 weeks. I might have to do 3 weeks depending on how the weather looks, but I want to get them prepared that if it weather does look good in 2 weeks, I can do them in 2 weeks. So I'm going to set them outside for an hour today, and then tomorrow I'll set them outside for 2 hours, and then each day I'm going to lengthen the time they're outside up until the point where 2 weeks from now, they should be able to survive the entire day outside. I also want to give you guys an update on my peppers, marigolds, and snapdragons that I started 2 weeks ago, which was my last video. And then we're going to go in my garage and I'm going to start all of my summer crops. I'm doing tomatoes, tomatillos, lavender, sunflower, basil, parsley. I think I have sunflowers to do today too. And I'm also starting broccoli, which will be my first time doing broccoli from seed. So a lot to do today, a big gardening day. Those days are my favorite, so let's get started. So I like to trim my onions down to about 3 to 4 inches. That just helps them focus more of their energy on growing strong roots and also just helps them stay a little bit more sturdy. Anything you trim, you can eat or you can compost. Honestly, I usually just compost it, but maybe I'll save these ones to actually eat this week. I don't know, TBD, but I do have a full tutorial on starting these onions with a lot of tips on onions, what onions to grow, how to grow them, how to start them, etc. on my channel. So I'll make sure to link that video in the description if you're looking for more like a detailed onion tutorial video. But at this point, we are just in maintenance mode. I am trying to get these strong and healthy. That way when they go in my garden, I can get nice big onion bulbs. I have found that these trays take one of these jars, which is 7 cups of water once a week. That has been like the perfect amount of water for me. And then I mix in just like a couple tablespoons. I say a couple tablespoons as I totally eyeball that. I'm going to take one of these out. I'm going to pour all 7 cups of water with the fertilizer mixed in. And I just pour it into the bottom of this tray. I'm going to try not to breathe because it does stink. Ooh, nasty. And then this whole thing fills up. And then I'm just going to put this guy back in here and I'm going to let it sit. I'm going to do these other 2 and then let's check on the peppers. All 3 trays are watered now, so I'm going to go ahead and take them outside. Now, your first day hardening them off, it can be like best case scenario is an overcast day. That way they don't have such like violent UV rays on them and they don't have the full force of the sun. So best case scenario, your first day for hardening off is going to be overcast or in the shade. Today, I'm just putting them on like my back patio area. It's in the sun. It's slightly overcast. It is in the sun though, which is fine. Let's get these outside. So these will just sit here for an hour and then we'll come and get them. It'll be great. All right, before we get to start planting everything else, I want to give a quick update. These are all of the peppers. So they were started depending on when you watch this, maybe about 2 weeks ago. They're looking good. Pretty much every single cell has at least one seedling, except for this one back here is a bell pepper tray that nothing came up of. And then here, my habaneros have been giving me trouble. I do have one right there. See if I can get to focus. That little green hoop. All right, it just wants to stay blurry. Anyways, I have one coming up here. These two I'm not getting much from, but I'm very happy with this one. Got a lot of questions on Instagram. I put up a story yesterday asking you guys to put any questions you have for me to answer in today's video up on my Instagram at More Than Gardening. And a big question I kept getting was like, will I pot up my peppers? And yes, I will, but they're like so not ready for that yet. I pot them up once they have like 2 to 3 true leaves. And right now there's some that are starting to get true leaves, like right here. That's a true leaf. Here, that's a true leaf, but right now most of them are still the seed leaves. So the first leaves that come up when a seed sprouts are the seed leaves, and then true leaves come after that, and then the seed leaves will end up dying. So I won't be potting these up until they have like 2 to 3 true leaves, and most of these don't have that yet. So it's going to be another couple weeks until these get potted up. These are all of the marigolds. They're doing so good. I'm so happy with them. I really need to thin them. I'm going to come here and just clip the weakest one in each cell. Oh, look at this cutie little cell it has. Snapdragons and marigolds. I guess some seeds migrated a little bit, but these ones are starting to get, you see true leaves there, couple here, couple here. Honestly, I don't know if I'm going to end up potting up my marigolds. I know I won't pot up my snapdragons. These are going to go from these 6 cells straight outside once they're ready. Last year, my marigolds did really bad, the ones I started them from seed, and I never had to pot them up because they grew so slow and so terrible that they didn't ever outgrow these 6 cells. So these ones I'm going to have to keep an eye on and just make a decision. If they start outgrowing these cells, I'll pot them up. But if they don't, I won't. So TBD on the marigolds. Before we head out and start talking about all of the summer crops I'm starting today and get into the seed starting portion of this video, I do want to thank Truly Nutrition for sponsoring this video. If you've been following me along on Instagram, you already know all about the Everyday Wellness Shot. These are like a ginger turmeric shot, which is powderized in these little packets for convenience and on the go. And they have vitamin C, vitamin D, B12, zinc. They have cayenne, the ginger, the turmeric, echinacea, and so much more packed into these little packets. These are great for your immune system, chronic pain, inflammation in your body. Ginger and turmeric have so many medicinal benefits. I'm going to leave a link below in the description along with a discount code to get a really big discount. My husband and I have been taking these for a while. It's just a daily supplement that we add to our normal everyday healthy eating, and we have not gotten sick in I don't know how long. This entire flu, cold season, norovirus, everything that's gone around, we have been able to dodge all of it. And I really do think a lot of it is because we've been taking these supplements. The whole reason I started gardening in the first place was I wanted more control of our food, what we were eating, what we were, consuming every day has such a big impact on your overall health. As much as I would like for all of our food to come from my garden and all of our nutrients to come from my garden, it's just not realistic, especially living in Michigan where I can only harvest from my garden like less than half of the year. So there's definitely a big gap where I do need to supplement with some really good supplements on the market, and this one is my favorite one. Thank you to Truly for sponsoring this, and thank you guys for all of your support on these videos because you make partnerships like this happen, and it's nice when I can take some time and just share something that I think you guys are really, really gonna love, something that I love, something that my family uses, and something I think is gonna benefit you too. So check them out, and yeah, let's get into seed starting. If you want like a more in-depth like how to start seeds, soil mix, equipment, etc. tutorial, I do already have 2 videos on my page that I've released in the last like couple months. So I'm not going to go super in depth of like how to seed start in this video, just because if you've already seen those videos, I don't want to bore you to death today. So I just want to go over like what I'm planting, tips for each of those varieties, answer some questions that you guys put on Instagram, and yeah, just really seed start today. The variety of broccoli I'm growing is Belstar. I tried growing broccoli last year. I put some seeds in the ground in early spring and like nothing happened. I put them in one of my raised bed that's like my worst one, and I'm putting them in the same raised bed this year, so we'll see what happens. But I feel like if they are seedlings when they go out, they'll be a lot better than just like putting seeds in. So this is my first year actually seed starting broccoli, so I'm definitely not an expert. These are actually gonna go out in my garden before my last frost, so similar to my onions, they don't have to wait for like full on summer. If you're a broccoli grower and you've had good luck with broccoli in the past, if you've got any tips for cabbage moths and cabbage worms, which I guess are the same thing, the moths leave, I think the moths lay the eggs that create the worms, drop them in the comments because I'm a newbie. I think a lot of people watching this video are probably going to be newbies too, and we would all love some guidance. I've got another first time crop for me, doing lavender this year, and it looks like just one tray, so 6 of them. I've never grown lavender before. I'm growing lavender because I keep bees, which I need to give an update on from last year because I've not talked about my bees in a long time, but I will get to it. We're having bees again this year, but yeah, that's all I'm going to say right now. I need to get into it in a more detailed video, but basically I'm growing lavender because bees love lavender. One of the most fun parts of gardening is growing something new for the first time. I think that's why anyone who gets into gardening does it for so long and does it like their entire life, because there's always something new to grow. There's always something new to learn. And this is my 3rd year gardening. So there's like a ton for me to learn and a ton of new stuff for me to grow because I am literally a newbie. So I am still really excited about all of the new ones I'm growing this year. And you know, I think that's how it is for a lot of people that have been gardening for a long time. There's just always something new to do. That's it for lavender. Let's see the next. I know this one's sunflowers. Yeah. So I have a couple different sunflower varieties that I'm going to do. I have Goldy Honey Bear. These are a new variety for me this year. And then I have Rogue Royal. I grew a variety very, very similar to these last year, and they were stunning. I cannot wait for these ones. So I just put enough soil in 1/6 cell. So I'm going to do 3 of each, and I'm not going to label which 3. I'm just going to do this first side with these ones, and then I'll do the other side with the other ones. Next is my romaine lettuce. I like to grow my romaine in between my tomato plants. They don't like super, super hot and super, super sun. Lettuce varieties are usually better for like the spring and the fall, but I do romaine in the summer and it works just fine for me. I'm hoping for like probably planting out 10 different plants, but I'm going to start 12 seeds and then I'll plant out like the 10 strongest, probably give the 2 weaker ones away. But I like to put them in the same beds as my tomato plants, and I plant them in between the tomatoes because the tomatoes get so big, they kind of shade the romaine seeds. That way the romaine lettuce plants don't get so hot in the sun and they won't bolt as fast. If you're struggling with your lettuce bolting too fast, a couple things you can do. 1, try planting it in the spring or the fall when it's a little colder. Or what I like to do with all my greens other than romaine is I actually plant them in grow bags. That way in like the heat of the summer, if I need to, I can move them to like a shadier area and get them out of the sun. And that should slow down the bolting a little bit. And then like these ones, the romaine being between the tomato plants, the tomatoes are really going to protect them and guard them from the sun. That way they don't get too hot, and that way they don't bolt. I'm doing like an herb garden this year, and I'm turning my like green birdies bed that was in my garden last year holding a lot of flowers, and I'm turning it into, it's like a 4x3 like rectangle right now, but I'm gonna like rebuild it or reassemble it to be like a longer and skinnier raised bed. That's the good thing about those birdies beds. You can like buy the same like bed and build it however you want. You can have more of a square, a rectangle. I'm gonna do like a really long rectangle. and have the whole thing be in herbs this year. So I'm excited to transform that this spring. And that's where my lavender, oregano, I think my parsley is going in there. And I thought there was one other thing, but I don't know. I'll have to check my garden planner. I did oregano last year and dried it out and then put it in my blender. And we still have a ton of it. And we use it on like pizza nights to make fresh pizza sauce. Oh my gosh, I just dumped so many seeds. Oh well. We use it in pizza sauce and it is so good. And you really don't need that many oregano plants to get enough to enjoy fresh, to dry out, to use in sauces and canning and whatever you want to do. So I'm just doing those 3 plants and I think they're going to be plenty. So oregano in there. And then the other one is parsley. I'm just doing this moss curled parsley. And parsley is very similar to oregano where you really don't need that many plants and you can get a lot of parsley, and fresh parsley in tomato sauce or like pasta sauce is so good. I always like having fresh garden parsley. I always like to have parsley growing fresh in my garden. That way when I start canning all my tomatoes and my pasta sauces, I can just use this and not have to buy any from the store because it is so much better. I get a lot of questions about pest control and how I basically deter pests in my garden. I don't spray anything. I really rely on companion planting and just picking bugs off myself. If I see a bug, I will just pick the bug. And then companion planting is basically a strategy where you're planting plants that will like ward off or deter pests next to the plants you want to protect. So basil is a great deterrent for my tomato plants. They give off like a scent and it's pretty strong and it will deter a lot of the pests. If you're like me and you're growing a ton of tomatoes, which pretty much this entire tray is tomatoes, which we'll get to, but I grow so many tomatoes that way I can can them and make pasta sauce for the whole year and tomato sauce and just every tomato product you can think of. Fresh basil makes the biggest difference. And like the oregano, like pizza night, we love making homemade pizzas. So having fresh basil from the garden is just, it's the best. I'm gonna set this aside. Whoa, this is really heavy. Ugh. Whoa. Okay, put that there and get to this one. This is the tray I'm excited about. If you're not growing tomatillos, let this be your sign to get some tomatillo seeds or pick up some tomatillo plants from the nursery because these are really good. They're like, how do I explain? They're like tomatoes' green cousin. They're not tomatoes, but they're like kind of. I use them to make green salsa or like salsa verde, and then we have them with like tacos or Mexican food. And it's so good. Like a few tomatillos with poblano, cilantro. I cannot open this. And did I already say jalapeno? Tomatillos, poblano, jalapeno, and cilantro, and onion. That is like a really good salsa verde. I'm trying to start 12 seedlings. That way I can probably have like 10 good, strong plants. And then the 2 extra, I'll either give away or, I don't know, put in a grow bag. But I'm thinking 10 will fit in the raised bed area that I have planned for my tomatillos. Now onto like the main event, the tomatoes. Tomatoes are like the best crop for a beginner. Honestly, they're like a gateway drug to gardening. They are the most popular vegetable to grow. Billions of them are grown every single year because nothing beats the taste of a garden fresh tomato. Tomatoes from your garden are just, they're like candy. They are so juicy. They are so good. And once you have them, like, I can't eat tomatoes from the store anymore. I can't eat tomatoes at restaurants when it's not in season. I have become a tomato snob because of this now, because I don't know. It's just like homegrown is so good. I grow a few different varieties. The first one that I'm going to put seeds in are my beefsteak tomatoes. Those are like the big, red, thick, like sliced tomatoes. These ones are the best for like your sandwiches, your BLTs. I really like to like toast a piece of sourdough bread, put a little butter on it, a little slice of a beefsteak tomato, salt, pepper, maybe a little like drizzle of olive oil and balsamic. That is like the absolute best. If you're looking for like a really good slicing tomato, you got to do these beefsteaks. Another really good slicing tomato that I fell in love with last year are the Cherokee purples. They are, honestly, I love botanical interest, but this picture doesn't do it justice. These look kind of boring here. They are huge tomatoes and they're big and they have like a smoky flavor to them. I also love those ones on BLTs because I think the smoky flavor of the tomato goes really well with like the smoky flavor of the bacon. They're also really good on like a piece of bread or with eggs or however you enjoy your tomatoes. But these slicing tomatoes, like these beefsteaks and these Cherokee purples, these are really for slicing and enjoying on like sandwiches and such. I don't really can these ones. These aren't what I use to make my pasta sauces, my barbecue sauce, and like my canned tomatoes. I will, if I have like an abundance of these and they're like about to go bad and we can't eat them in time, I will can them. But because they're slicing tomatoes, they're a lot like waterier and you don't want to can like super watery tomatoes. So these are usually just like eaten fresh unless I have like a really big abundance of tomatoes. I want to get into the tomatoes that I really grow to can. Now, if you're not familiar with canning, I have so much canning content coming up and I do already have quite a bit on my channel. It's basically a food preservation method. Think about like cans of food in the store. It's like room temperature on the shelf. It's shelf stable. It's like fully cooked food in there. That's like, you can do that at home. It's home canning. I love to use canning to preserve my garden harvest. That's why I grow so much of everything, because I want to be able to enjoy my crops fresh in the summer when they're in season and then can them to enjoy throughout the year. So you want like meatier tomatoes for canning that have less water content, because you want to be canning tomato, you don't want to be canning water. So San Marzanos are the tomatoes that I'm putting in right now. They're a little like sweeter. They're one of my favorite tomatoes for canning, and they produce so many tomatoes from like one plant, and they're like really, really good for canning. These are a tomato that I will grow every year because they are so sweet and delicious. I think these last 5, and I'm gonna turn it around so I can see, are all Romas. And Romas are like a staple for canning. They're really meaty. They're delicious tomatoes. You can have them on a sandwich, but they're not really grown to be like, I don't know, like big slicing sandwich tomatoes. They're really for canning. That's what they're bred for. And all of the tomatoes that I've put in so far, so the Cherokee purples, the beefsteaks, and the San Marzanos, they're all indeterminate tomatoes, meaning they will grow for an indeterminate amount of time. They will just grow and grow and grow and produce and produce and produce until something kills them, like weather, disease, pests, you chopping them down, whatever it may be. They will go until something stops them, and they will produce until something stops them. Indeterminate tomatoes, like the Romas I'm about to plant, they grow to a determined tomatoes, determined size, and they grow a determined amount of tomatoes, and then they stop, and the plant stops producing. People say you get like one large harvest of Romas. In my experience, there's like a time period over a few weeks where you're getting a lot of Romas, and then you get like a few here and there after. And that's a really good thing for people that are using them for canning, because they can get all of their tomatoes kind of like at once and then do like a big batch of canning. And then rather than collecting like 3 tomatoes today, 3 next week, 3 the week after that, and then having to can like all these small batches, these are really bred and meant to be all ready at the same time. If you want to have updates on how all these seedlings are doing and just how they're growing throughout the season, I'm going to be filming pretty much everything for the garden this year here on YouTube. So this is really the spot to get updates on how all of these seedlings are doing. So I just put the tomatoes, tomatillos, and Thai basil here on this shelf, and I did add the humidity dome. Like I said, I am not using a heat mat for these. You can, they're summer crops, so they'll like a little bit of heat. It could help them germinate a little faster, but honestly, I didn't use one last year, so I'm not going to use one this year. Down here on the bottom of this one, you can see I also brought in my onions. They were done with the hardening off process for the day. They were out there for an hour. I moved this tray down to the bottom of this rack. And then I don't have humidity domes for these taller ones. Probably should get some, but this is just gonna go without a dome. I might get some saran wrap and just put a layer in each of these like set of trays just to help with that humidity a little bit, but I'm not super worried about it. And then no heat mat there either because the broccoli is a cold weather crop. It really doesn't need a whole lot of heat to germinate. So I think I'm gonna leave that one without as well. These will germinate over the next couple weeks and then I'll provide an update. I'm really excited to see them. If there's anything I missed in this video that you want to know more about, definitely leave a comment. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, I really appreciate it. I really love this community that we're building over here on YouTube, and I just can't wait for the rest of the season. It has been so much fun so far. It has just been, I don't know, the best. I love seed starting season. Seeing my shelves fill up brings me so much joy. So if you're going through the same thing as me right now and starting your seeds, I hope it's going just as well for you, and I hope you're loving it. If you're not already, make sure to subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, leave a like, leave a comment. And if you're not already, follow me on Instagram at morethangardening, TikTok at morethangardening_, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.